game, make a game, what's a game, what's a game? I'm a Kamen Rider.
What's up, everybody? It's the Quarter Guy, and I usually don't talk about mobile games that often, and understandably so. I mean, primarily I'm a console gamer with secondary focus on PC, but every platform of games has its good games and its bad games, and it's been just over a year since probably my favorite mobile game at the moment first launched. That would be Dragalia Lost, the collaboration between Nintendo and Cygames. And they recently had a big Dragalia digest going over how they're celebrating their first anniversary and events upcoming in the future. And it pretty much highlights a lot of the things I really love about Dragalia Lost as a mobile game. I'd like to go over 5 major points that I love about the game in no particular order and why I've enjoyed it so much. The first one is something that I've actually touched upon this in one of my countdowns this year about games that could make great anime. I put Dragalia Lost on that list, and part of the reason is because the game has built up such a great world through its characters, story, and its lore. I mean, we've had 10 story chapters so far and multiple events that have like their own stories to them that are related to the main story, and they've introduced a lot of interesting and unique characters, not just the main bunch, but the others as well. I mean, you can actually get a look at their personalities through the various character stories that you can unlock through upgrading the characters, and some of them are really interesting. And not just the characters, but also the dragons. They also have their own personalities and their own lore as well. And it all comes together to create an interesting and unique world that I've actually come to really enjoy. The second point I'd like to talk about is the presentation. I mean, the graphic style is definitely anime, that's for sure. It even has like an anime intro cutscene, and it's definitely well presented. The graphics are definitely really nice and lively. The environments look really good. It's a really cute art style as well, for the most part anyway. And the sound effects and voice acting are actually pretty on point as well. And the music. They actually based the soundtrack on the music of J-pop artist Daoko, and it's definitely a good fit for the game, for the various adaptations of the music, and actually the music itself is on proud display in the game. And heck, they actually, in the latest update, they actually added an option to change the home screen music, which is nice to appreciate. But more on that later. That's another point. The third point I want to talk about is how you focus on co-op, how there's co-op instead of PvP. This actually benefits both kinds of players, those who spend money on the game and those who don't, because people who spend money can actually help players who don't, and cooperation actually helps foster a more positive community than trying to focus on PvP. And I've actually gotten a lot of experience with the co-op, even with strangers, and it's actually fun to actually go through that, which is more than I can say for competitive games that focus on a competitive element. I just appreciate it that much. The fourth point I'd like to talk about is that they've been listening to feedback over the past year to make the game better, lowering the price for summoning costs, adding new features, a lot of quality of life touches that really make the game better. It had some early growing pains in the early going, but now it's a lot of stuff's been added to it to make things more enjoyable. And that's further emphasized by probably my most important point about this game. It's probably the most generous gacha game I've actually played. I mean, there are lots of opportunities to earn the in-game currency for summoning through various void battle events, through story events, through raid and facility events, that I practically have never had the need to actually buy any of the in-game currency. And that's saying something, considering that gacha games, as a practice, tend to steer you toward that currency. There are a couple of other Nintendo's mobile outings I could look at with angry eyes, but it's for a free-to-play game, the game is extremely friendly, and so these are the reasons I've been playing Dragalia Lost quite a bit lately, and I'll be continuing to play it for the foreseeable future. I hope for the best for the game as it continues on, and for the recent Dragalia Digest, they've got a lot of plans, continuing the story, adding new battles and new difficulties, new weapons to craft, new features for the game, and, oh, this was the big surprise they dropped at the end of the Dragalia Digest. Well, you see, for the 6th anniversary, they did a crossover event with Fire Emblem Heroes, which was, I must say, executed very well. In fact, it fleshed out some of the Fire Emblem characters better than Fire Emblem Heroes itself has done. Looking at you, Fjorm. And at the end of this recent Dragalia Digest, they've announced their 2nd crossover event, and it was something that I was not expecting at all, but I am thrilled that it's happening. It's a crossover event with Mega Man. It's going to be happening this winter, and we're going to be getting new details very soon, and well, that's going to be something worth looking forward to. So, happy 1st anniversary, Dragalia Lost. Here's to another year of awesomeness. Alright, time for some updates. As you may know, at the end of my most recent countdown, if you haven't watched it yet, go check it out. Next month, for October, is going to be a Halloween special, like usual. This time it's a QG at the Arcade special on Sega's zombie rail shooter series, The House of the Dead. All the zombies, rapid-fire gunplay, and cheesy as hell voice acting you could ever want. In fact, I was actually down at the local Round 1 doing some research, so to speak. Turns out they've got both House of the Dead 4 and last year's recent entry, Scarlet Dawn. Yeah, they actually made a new House of the Dead that wasn't related to Overkill. Now that's gonna be fun. That actually leads me to my question of the week this week. What's your favorite monster-themed game? As always, answers in the comments. Favorite comments will be featured in the next episode. Here are last episode's winners. And with that, time for the 4th wall mailbag. As always, look for the community post and send me your questions there, and I'll answer my favorites in the next episode. First one this week is from Jimmy Robinson, who asks, if Arc System was to get a rep in Smash, who do you think is more likely, Soul or Ragna? That's actually a question that I can't really give favorites to. I mean, between the fact that we've got a new Guilty Gear in the works, and Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle is getting version 2.0 soon in November, I think both Soul and Ragna would be equally likely to get in, to be honest. And, I mean, they're probably not going to be the 5th fighter on the Fighter Pass, but they're there's a chance it might happen later down the line. Though, to be honest, I'd probably prefer Ragna. Next question comes from Minato Ace, who asks, what franchises would you like to see get a fighting game spin-off? Well, I've already been talking about one of them. Yes, I think Dragalia Lost would make a cool fighting game spin-off. I mean, got the shape-shifting mechanic that could work pretty well, kind of like the Arcanas and Arcana Heart have that extend force, so shape-shifting can work in a similar way. And with the characters and lore, you can easily create an original story within that world. Besides, Cygames is collaborating with Arc System Works to create a fighting game spin-off of Grand Blue Fantasy, so that might be the next logical step. The other franchise I'd like to see get a fighting game spin-off, honestly, is Fire Emblem. I mean, spanning many worlds, tons of characters. Heck, you could even integrate the strategy RPG elements into a single-player campaign. Just have actual fights instead of the visual scenes of the battles instead. That could work out pretty well, if handled properly and not restricted to a few games. Fire Emblem Warriors, I'm looking straight at you! Next question comes from Red Tom, who asks, thoughts on the Dragon Quest trilogy coming to Switch? I mean, that's actually pretty cool. I like seeing older games get a new lease on life, being introduced to a new generation, and especially since now we have Dragon Quest XI S on the Switch. I guess they figured now is a good time as any to introduce new players to the original games. I hear Dragon Quest III is one of the best of the early games, so I might check that out. I mean, I enjoyed the demo of 11S so much that I got the full game, so I guess I got the jumping off point done. Last question comes from KDX213, who asks, what are your thoughts on Mario Kart Tour? Let's see. Having to decide between slide turning and slide drifting, having the tilt controls hidden on the settings menu, the fact that gacha currency in that game is very stingy, having to buy a subscription to get some of the features in the game, Luigi isn't available at the start.
That is bullshit! Blazing to my